She used to be an actress.
She ever do anything I would have saw?
I think her biggest deal was she started in a pilot.
What's a pilot?
Well, you know the show's on TV, right?
I don't watch TV.
Yeah, but you're aware that there's an invention called television. And on that invention, they show shows.
Yeah.
Well, the way they pitch the TV shows is they make one, and that show's called a pilot. And then they show that show to people who watch the shows on the strength of that. On the one show, they decide if they want to make more shows. Some get accepted, some become TV programs, and some don't and become nothing. She started one that became nothing.
Welcome to Couch Pilots. Hello, my friends. It's the show that dares to fly into the unknown territory of awful television pilots of the past. My name is Jason, and with me is the man who'll use his gambling plan to get rich. It's Captain Philip Ressisher. Good evening. I love you.
Good evening. I love you too. Yeah, getting rich is obviously not the plan. It's
What is the plan? When you gamble, you're thinking you're going to strike it rich.
No, I don't think I'm going to strike it rich. It's. Can I make enough money just to keep doing this for a couple more hours? It's stupid. It's a dumb.
Now, I think you have kind of veered away from gambling.
Yes.
It was in the past few months, but you and your wife were just dumping money like it was going out of style for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At one time, I think on the show, you said that you had like a gambling plan, which is exactly the kind of thing an addict would
Sure.
say, right?
Yeah, the one pocket plan.
Can you go over that plan again?
The one pocket plan is if you're gambling and you win a little bit of money, you push the cash out ticket, you put it in one pocket, and then you pull a 20 out of the other pocket and put it in a machine.
But there's not an endless string of 20s in that one pocket.
No,
though,
but
right?
then the theory is when you're done with whatever is in your one pocket, then you just go and you cash out your tickets, and then you leave.
What do you like your best gambling moment where you win some money? What do you equate that feeling to of something other than gambling? Because I famously don't care about gambling at all. I don't give a shit about
A finger to the prostate, I think, probably.
it. A finger to the prostate. So pretty good stuff.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
So if you hit a jackpot, you instantly unload in your pants.
Yeah, that's what kind of makes it weird when you go. You always have to carry an extra pair of
You're wearing adult diapers.
Yeah. Those are called my gambling diapers.
Gambling diapers. I like that. Hey, I also like today's guest. Let's get him in here. Will you please intro him here?
Yeah, we've had this gentleman on a couple times. I think both times he did two shows. So he's been on. This will be his fifth time.
That's correct.
He is a famous blogger. He made an amazing game. And he's here with us today. Marty, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. The fifth time. I'm a part of the Fifth Timers Club.
Yep, there's only a handful.
Really?
We didn't get you a jacket, though. We didn't get you a jacket like they have on Saturday Night Live.
That's okay.
What is it, 10 times? Or what's the Saturday Night Live?
I think theirs is the 10 Timers Club.
It's 5 timers.
Is it
Oh,
5?
is it 5?
I know a lot about Saturday Night Live. I know very little about almost everything.
Because
I know a lot about
there's
SNL.
a recurring sketch where it's Steve Martin.
Yes.
I think Paul Simon.
Sometimes it's funny. Martin Short he'll pop in those. He's not a 5-timer. He's only hosted 2 or 3 times.
Oh, really?
But he always pops up as the guy who's like serving.
Oh, the waiter.
Yeah,
you're right.
Serving the 5-timers a drink like he's this sniveling little nothing.
Who are the other ones? It's Steve Martin.
Oh, there's a lot. Candace Bergen,
John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
Has
Did he?
he done it?
Because
5
his last one that he was on,
okay.
They didn't give it to him. That was the joke, and they didn't
Maybe
give it to him.
Melissa McCarthy, maybe Woody Harrelson at this
Woody
point.
Harrelson, yes.
See, I'm thinking back into the original
Tom
ones.
Hanks.
I'm that
Buck
old.
Henry. If you're going back that far, then Buck Henry seriously hosted probably 12, 15 times.
Tom
Really?
Hanks too, right?
Tom Hanks, definitely, absolutely. And then John Goodman, Alec Baldwin, I think holds the record. Yeah, Steve Martin's in there. Oh, golly. Kristen Wiig might be there. She's at least 4, if not 5. Melissa McCarthy, I think I mentioned already.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a good number. It's maybe Justin Timberlake. He might be in there.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, who else is in the Five Timers Club here on Couch Pilots?
We got a lot. But as far as how many people have done it exactly 5 times, it might just be Marty.
Wow.
It
Well,
might
thank
just,
you.
It might just be Marty.
I feel special.
I should have got that coat.
All right, that's enough of that. Marty, thank you so much for coming back.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
You are one of those guys who you have lived a full life, and I hope you have a lot of life left. But you got so.
Sometimes I kind of hope I don't.
Well, I hope we're going to carry your dead carcass out of this basement.
There's a line I always say is when things are going bad. I used to say this at work. It's like, well, you know what? I'm going to be an optimist today and look on the bright side. Maybe I'll die in my sleep tonight.
It's a half glass.
I like
full
that
of-
one.
yeah,
I had to get that on a shirt.
Blake, I want to up top of the show. You went on a trip this weekend.
Yeah, I went on a romantic weekend getaway with my wife. My wife.
Now this is because it was your anniversary.
Yeah, our 9 years of marriage.
Wow, congratulations.
I guess. Thanks. Yeah.
Where did you go and what did you do?
We went to Utica, Illinois, Starved Rock. We stayed at a bed and breakfast, little cottage. It was a cottage, actually.
Nice. Was it like its own cottage or was it a series of connected cottages?
It was 2 cottages connected, but I think that they didn't share a wall because I think there was a storage thing in the middle of them.
Okay.
But the structure was together.
So
Did you know the people next to you?
No, the people next to us came in on Friday as well. It was 2 African American. It was an African American couple. They came in with their suitcase, their bag, and they came in with a 24-pack of Mike's Hard Lemonade, assorted. Mike's Hard assorted.
They're ready to party. Is what it
And
sounds like to
I
me.
don't think they ever left the cottage. We would see them out. We would see them on the patio.
Yeah.
Did you hang out with them at all,
No, they know.
Why not? You're always a guy I feel like who's quick to make friends anywhere you go with people.
This seemed. I used my spidery senses, and I was like, "This seems like a weird situation."
Why?
Well, they never left the cottage,
And Blake famously hates Mike's Hard Lemonade.
and I hate Mike's Hard Lemonade.
I've never drank that.
And all he ever did was they were on the porch smoking weed. She was missing the front 4 teeth. Her front 4 teeth. Not a problem. I mean, whatever. I'm missing 1 too, but not 4. And they would say hi when you would walk by them. But like I said, they never left. I think they were just fucking and doing weed the whole weekend, and I didn't want to interrupt.
That's strange to travel somewhere and then just stay in the place.
If I told you how much it would cost, that it cost me
Yeah.
for this place for 2 nights, you would say like, why not just take this hooker to a Super 8 hotel?
Right.
When I travel somewhere, I'm one of those guys. I don't like to keep a super rigid schedule, but I do like to pack in as much as I
Sure.
can because I don't
No,
know
me
when
too.
I'm going to come back to
Right.
Chattanooga or Portland. I don't know when I'm going back there. Let's get it all in.
Get it on.
But they're like, let's fucking get it on. Let's,
Yeah, we didn't hear him or anything.
But why go anywhere if you're just going to stay in the place?
Maybe-
Why?
I think the guy. I think she fucks him, and she has the weed, and I think he's embarrassed that she don't have no front teeth, and I think he just keeps her in the locked up.
This is the only place where they can have sex loudly and together and not be judged by
in a little town of 5,000 people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
Huh.
Teach their own, I guess.
Yeah, so we did some hiking, which we used to hike a lot at Starved Rock, and so we did a little bit of hiking. Didn't overdo it too bad there. Went and had some eats at some
hot
different
eats?
places, some hot eats.
Any cool treats?
I had a cool treat. I had
here we
a
go.
s'mores sundae.
Here we go.
So that was the thing. We went to a fancy restaurant on Saturday night for our anniversary dinner.
What was the name of that?
Uptown Grill in LaSalle.
The Billy Joel Grill.
Yeah. I didn't see the girl there.
That took me a minute for that to register in.
I'm working on a different level here.
But
Yeah.
I had made my reservations online in the little notes section. I said, hey, it's our anniversary. We're coming from Peoria. That's all I said. I didn't ask for anything,
Did they do something?
Yeah,
Ooh.
and I didn't think anything about it. I didn't think they would. I wasn't going like,
Right.
hopefully. I didn't wink to the waitress lady, but
Put her ring in her Chardonnay.
yeah. So after our meal was over, she asked us if we wanted a dessert, and we were like, "No, we have way too much food. It was way too much food." And she came back with a little piece of cheesecake with some strawberry drizzle and a sparkler.
Oh, wow.
So me and my wife almost burned to death. because it was a very little table. It was like a little 2-person table with this huge sparkler going everywhere. And that never seemed to run out. Me, my wife, and the waitress just kind of stood there we just kind of were there for, it seemed like an eternity. So,
But you're not a cheesecake guy, right?
oh no, I didn't eat any of it.
You eat
I just
4
slid it
or
over.
5 things ever, right?
Yeah, and I just slid it over and said, "You go, girl."
Marty, are you a picky eater?
No, I was as a kid.
Yeah.
As a kid, for a long time, about all I would eat, up until I was like 5 or 6 years old, was Cheese Whiz and crackers. It was my mom even like at the doctor one time because I just refused. Well, my brother Tom told me at one point, I think when I was 3 or 4, that milk comes out of a cow's stomach. So I would never drink milk. And it caused a big deal at school because I refused to drink milk.
That's all they give you there is cartons of milk.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I would just say, no, I'm not going to drink the milk.
I know where that comes from. You can't fool Marty.
Yeah, no, and I...
Even little Marty.
well, so my mom took me to the doctor, and she's like, Marty won't drink milk. He won't eat this. And she's like, well, does he like ice cream? And she said, yeah, well, give him some ice cream, whatever. No, I was really picky. Up until like 5 or 6, I would hardly eat anything.
Blake, what did you order at Billy Joel's Uptown Grill?
I had the pork chops wrapped in bacon,
Wow.
baked potato.
Pork chops and bacon. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it was like the outside. These were thick. Like these were thick ass pork chops.
That's like double pork.
Oh, yeah.
Porky. That's what you could call me.
That's a double middle finger for the pig. Right
Yeah,
there.
and then I had my salad.
I've
So-
never heard of a pork chop wrapped in bacon. That sounds
Well, it's just the
weird.
outside was wrapped. It wasn't like wrapped like.
I mean, heard like filet mignon and that, but I've never heard of a pork chop. It just seems weird.
I've never
good.
heard of Blake eating a salad.
I love salad, but I have to make it the way I want it.
Tell me how you like it.
with a pork chop
Yeah.
With a pork chop and a baked
Start with a
potato.
pork chop.
and bacon.
I don't like a lot of radishes or carrots. I like extra cheese. I like extra croutons and
Radishes.
A light vinaigrette or an Italian or a vinegar and oil.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Or radishes? Do you come across that a lot? That's like one of the first things you said. I feel like I never come across a radish.
They're always in the mix.
Are they really?
Yeah, that's the
I
purple
see-
stuff.
I see
That's the purple.
radishes a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I'll eat them. I don't like them. I mean, and this one I got. I said put cheese on it. She put cheese on it. I kind of put my vinaigrette over it.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it, there was a bunch of bacon bits, real ones. I was like, it is my birthday.
So was it a good trip overall?
Good trip overall. Did a lot of reminiscing, going to some of the canyons and stuff because we used to take the kids a lot. Went to Pound Town one night.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, would I have liked to gone to Pound Town $200? I mean, 2 times because I paid over $500 to stay there. Yes, but are we grateful for the one Pound Town? Yes,
Take when you get at your age, right?
sure. We went. Molly found out there was this big biker bar there, and we went there on Friday night, and there was nobody there. Of course, it was like the weather was really raining, and so bikes don't go out in the rain, I guess. And she's like, "Oh, we got a band tomorrow night. This place, and it was huge. It was huge. It was this big, huge.
It was up in Utica.
Yeah, it was like it reminded me of Psycho Silo.
What was the name of it? Do you remember?
It used to be the leather place.
Allentown?
No, I don't remember the name.
Another
of it.
Billy Joel song?
I was going to say the Billy Joel reference there.
But so then we went back Saturday night, and the band had canceled, and so there was nobody there. So there was this big, humongous outdoor beer garden. It wrapped around the building. It was just, and there was nobody there. It was to be honest with you, Utica is dead. There's nothing going on. And I don't know if it was because of the weather, because all weekend it was rainy and stormy. So
Well, it sounds like you had a nice
Ooh,
romantic...
one more. Yeah,
please.
besides the romance, we went to St. Louis Canyon, which is my favorite canyon, and I just got done binging the podcast about the Starved Rock murders, which I've already read the book.
Yeah.
And I watched the documentary on HBO Max.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry, for giving me your password.
Terry's the guy who finally gave you an
Yeah.
ID and password?
Yeah. And so of course I made murder jokes on the way in there. And of course we were the only ones in there at that time. We were the only ones there. And
Felt extra creepy.
my wife was like, okay, now you're kind of going too far. Because I was like, oh, take my picture. This is where they died. And she thought that was kind of weird.
2 things. One, has that been solved? Was that murder solved?
Well, Chester Weger spent 60 years in prison. and I don't necessarily think he did it or he did it alone. He's out now. He got paroled.
After 60 years?
Yeah, he's like
He'll be dead by the end of your sentence.
he was like 80-some years old.
Yeah,
he's
Jesus.
he's still alive, and they're trying to adjudicate. What's the word I'm looking for?
I think that's right.
Yeah,
Adjudicate.
but it's going.
How do you live after being in prison that long, and then you're out on your own? Who pays you, or who?
There's no way that you could reacclimate to society.
Oh no, not at all.
No,
You know,
I mean,
no.
but who pays your bills? You don't get Social Security or anything.
He was in a halfway house for a year, I think, and then he went and he lives with family because he's like 84,
I don't know,
86.
that's
So he really
unbelievable.
can't. He couldn't. Yeah. So he lives with family. I don't necessarily. I don't think he did it by himself. Half of me thinks he didn't do it at all, and he got set up. And the other part of me thinks, well, if he did do it, he didn't do it by himself. It's impossible to do it by
Right.
himself.
Okay.
But that's a whole different podcast. But
Marty, you ever go up to Starved Rock? Do you ever go up there and hike at all?
No, I'm not a hiker.
Have you ever
I
been
don't
to it?
like. I don't like the outdoors. I don't like being
Before you
outside.
came in here, the outdoors was talking some shit about you outside. they don't like you either. Marty. Just an FYI.
No, I don't. I don't like being outside. I'm somebody that I don't like the sunshine. No, I started working nights in 1985, and it was kind of a punishment where I worked. They're like, okay, I was in a graphic arts union, so they couldn't fire me because I was really good at my job, but nobody liked me because I was a real asshole at work. I was a young kid, like 21. Everybody else was like 40 years. I'm like, oh, this job's stupid, whatever. But it paid really well. So, but once you got your union card, if you did the job and you showed up every day, and I was the best. I did what's called film stripping. It's a lost.
Blake was doing that, I think, over the weekend with his wife, right?
It's a lost.
that's the only thing.
grade.
The only thing she said no to was turning the camera on.
But once you got that, you lock in your position at that
Once
job.
you got the union card, they can't fire you. They had to have 3 reasons, like really
Performance, attendance,
right.
or
That's the same 3 reasons we pick a pilot for this show, right?
yeah.
So anyway, they couldn't fire me, so they put me on second shift, and there was just a few people on second shift. There wasn't a third shift in the department I was in, but at one point, then my last 4 years, they made a third shift.
Just to get rid of Marty.
No, just to put me on.
No one wants to fucking deal
No,
with you.
no. My boss called me in, and he's like, "We're starting a third shift in the department,
And
we want
you
to-
are the entire
We
third
want you to be on it." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I don't care." It was 11 at night to 7 in the morning. And I said, "Okay, who else am I working with?" And he's like, "No one, because nobody wants to work with you."
Jeez. And right there, you made a declaration. I fucking hate the sun. I'm never going to look at it again.
I mean, no, my whole life, I've never liked really being outside. I don't like it.
An indoor kid, I get it. I was dating a lady a long time ago, and every season we would go to Starved Rock. And here's something I noticed at Starved Rock. You follow each little creek, and it goes to this big structure, this big rock, crevice. What do you call it? Cliff? I don't know.
Canyon?
Yeah, you go back to this canyon where it's like a waterfall. A lot of little waterfalls back
Christy
there.
Brinkley?
Christy Brinkley is of all things. You get back to these things, and what I find at the end of every one of these canyons are dead raccoons.
Huh.
I think these raccoons are either being killed
Or drowning.
or committing suicide by jumping off of these canyons. I really
Could
do.
be.
Every one there would be 1 or 2 dead, like pretty fresh dead raccoons.
We found a raccoon skull years ago with the kids.
Yeah,
But and I've never seen any carcasses there.
I've seen a few. Yeah, it's disturbing.
So
I've never seen a dead raccoon. Well, I mean, I'm never out.
yeah, you're never outside. So
Yeah, I'm always looking for.
if you see a dead raccoon, Marty, it's in your house, and that's not cool.
Right.
Well, that's
It was
that's
fun.
nice that you had a romantic weekend, and this kind of transitions to what I wanted to ask Marty about. Marty, you're a man of indeterminate age. I don't know if you want to.
I just turned 65.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. 3 weeks ago.
And you're a single man.
Yeah.
What does that look like being 65 in the Peoria area, being a single man? Are you actively pursuing love or a relationship?
No, I gave up on that quite a while ago. I mean, with the onset of online porn, I kind of learned it's just a lot easier just to jerk off every day.
Amen.
Why ever compromise again?
Right, yeah.
When every naked woman on the planet.
There was a quote, and I can't think who said it, but a quote from someone that said, if guys would only learn just to like jerk off every morning, you'd save yourself a world of hurt.
And money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not putting it down, but I am somebody that at a young age, I thought, I'm never going to have kids. My two rules in my life that I followed, never have kids and never buy a house.
Okay.
I never wanted the responsibility of being a homeowner, and I never wanted the responsibility of being... What happened was, I mean, if we have time to tell
Please.
my dad, my first job... which I had, which is funny because my first job ended up being my last job from this guy's son. But my first job, I worked at the Caterpillar Power Parade, and it was for a janitorial service, and I was like a freshman in high school. But anyway, the money was pretty good. We had to work from like 5 a.m. to like midnight at night because of these shows. But the pay, and this would have been in like 1973. My first paycheck was like $200 and some. So I got the paycheck. I rode my bike to Sheridan Village, back when Sheridan Village was a thing. I had a bank account there, cashed the check, went to the record store. Me and my brother Jim were big record collectors. Went to the record store and bought as many albums as I could buy with this $200 some. Ride back to my parents' house, and I walked in the door, and my mom, it was like around 4:30 in the afternoon. She's like, what's in the bag there? I'm like, I bought a bunch of record albums. She's like, did you spend your whole paycheck on that? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's my money.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to be the bad guy, so she just kind of said, okay. I went up to our room with me and my brother Jim. We're listening to the record albums. So now my dad comes home from work. Well, my mom made him be the bad guy. So he comes in.
Marty spent all his money on records.
Right, that was it. And he comes
Satan's
in.
music.
So he comes in, and he's like, you want to take the music off there? I want to talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, what? He said, your mom said you spent all your money that you made from your job on record albums. I'm like, yeah, so what? It's my money. He's like, no, I know. And we're proud of you that you got a job at this young age and everything. But as time goes on, you're going to find out, you know, when you get older, you're going to have kids. You're going to buy a house. You're going to have car payments. You're going to, and just, he spelled out everything about being an adult would be.
You made major note right there.
I did.
No car, or no house, no kids. Thanks, Dad.
No, it was funny. And I mean, I was like 15 at the time, and I was just kind of like, yeah, I was smart enough at the time not to argue with him about it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Oh, good talk, Dad. And he left, so we put the music back on. And I remember this so vividly in my mind. I turned to my brother Jim, and I'm like, you know what? If you never buy a house or you never have kids, you could live like a 16-year-old for the rest of your life. And I did. I have.
There you go. Hey, I don't think anybody's gonna, go against you on that. That makes sense.
I always tell people I don't put down people that had kids or lived the normal life, but from that moment on, I decided I never did. I never had kids. I've never owned a house.
Have you regretted either of those things?
Oh no, not at all.
Now you have one brother.
Well, I mean, my brother Jim, who I was really close to, he died back in 2006.
Okay, but do you have other siblings that you'll
I've got a brother and a sister.
Keep in contact with them at all?
Oh yeah.
They have kids.
Oh yeah, the thing and my brother Jim never had kids either. So there was 4 of us, and me and Jim, we were always like really tight. Me and him were always like the 2 in our family. The 2 of us never had kids. We never lived a normal life. But my brother Tom and Terry, they like lived the normal lives, which was good for my parents.
Yeah,
because they had grandkids from them.
Well, how's that? Did you get any time to be an uncle? Did you?
Oh yeah.
Okay. How do you like being an uncle? Did you being around those kids? You ever think, man, maybe it'd be nice to have at least.
No,
one
I always
kid.
said the best thing about being an uncle or being around like my friends' kids is you can walk away when they start crying, when they start being little assholes.
Yeah.
You can just say, okay, I'm going home.
That's exactly what I say to my friends. I say I am the grandparent of pets because I don't have any pets. I don't want any pets. They fuck up your shit.
Right.
I get to love them at my friend's house, and I get to leave.
Yeah.
Love them and leave them. I am the
How come you
grandparent.
don't love all my dogs?
I think kicking in the ribs is a certain kind of love. No, I used to bring him treats.
No, you used to.
I love your dog, but the white dog you have sucks. It just barks at you all the time. That dog's an idiot.
I love that dog.
The other one's
They
kind of
bark a lot. When we
Yeah.
when we showed up, they were like going
Yeah,
nuts.
they are barkers.
I liked Mox better, but
Before we brought Mika in.
yeah, because now Mox will bark at me. I like Mox better when he was broken and scared.
Broken
I put a lot of work
man.
That's how I like my women and coffee.
Yeah. I put a lot of work into him. But he's deceiving because he
What are
would,
your dogs' names?
Mox and Mika.
Where do those come from? Mox. That's a strange name.
I think when we got Mox, I think his name was Max, and we just thought that was a stupid name, so we named him Mox.
Yeah.
Mox
Mox
isn't.
But he'd already been Mac or whatever for 5 years.
It sounds similar. The dog will just respond to it.
And then Mika, I think that was her name already, and said, well, it's another M name. We'll just keep it. Mika's brother's name was Pistachio. I'm like, that's a stupid name.
That's a nutty name.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Ba-dum-bum.
Hold on a second. All right. Last thing I want to ask Marty about before we start recording, you said I was a young man and I loved taking acid. Now, it's well documented on the show that I am not a drug guy. I don't even drink a lot. I'll drink, once a week or something with some friends, but I don't give a shit about drugs or alcohol. I really don't give a fuck. I'll drink, but never. I don't do anything illegal. I'm pretty lame when it comes to that kind of stuff.
That's not being lame. I mean, really, it's being smart.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna die very soon. So I don't know if it's. I just feel like my health is shit.
Really? I mean, how old are you?
41.
That's young. I mean,
I don't know. I don't feel young. Tell me about your drug use early, if you would, because acid is an interesting drug to me. That's the one where they say it's fairly cheap, and it can come back again and again later. Like you can have flashbacks or whatever it is.
See, I don't think that's true because I've never had them, and I did it. I mean, the first time I did acid, I think it was with my brother Jim when I was like 16, and I loved it. I mean, you see hallucinations, but I was lucky because my brother Jim kind of explained it to me, and this is what people need to know if you do acid, is that like everything you see is not real, and you need to know that so you don't freak out. I never had what they call a bad trip.
Okay.
I never freaked out, and I mean, as I told you off air, me and him used to do it in the morning before we'd wake up at 5 in the morning, do a hit of acid, go back to bed, and our mom would wake us up. And this is when my older brother Tom and Terry were out of the house. It was just me and Jim and my parents, and we'd be at the breakfast table like throwing stuff.
You'd be tripping balls at the breakfast table.
And my parents just saying, "What is wrong with the two of you?" I mean, later on, as we grew up, we would tell my parents these stories, and they would always be like, "You guys lived through this. We don't even want to know."
Right.
Because we did. I mean, I feel really lucky that I had the relationship with my brother Jim that I did, because I don't think a lot of people have that. When he died in 2006, and at his funeral, I only realized it when a lot of people said, I've never had a relationship like the two of you guys had. We were like super, super close. Even like when I moved to New York, we would talk on the phone at least once a day.
Yeah.
Every single day. But no, he was the guy that we did acid together. We did a lot of drugs together. Did more. My last big drug thing, I went from like smoking pot in 8th grade, then that developed into doing speed, doing acid. My last big drug phase was in like 1980, 81 when I was doing cocaine.
That's cocaine time, right?
80s cocaine time.
80s was cocaine time.
Oh, in 80, 81, everyone was doing it. And the thing with cocaine was...
Reggie Jackson.
Yeah. Robin Williams had a bit on it. It was like, you thought at the time it was like the best, because you don't get physically hooked on it. You do, as far as a mental level... But when you first start doing it, it's like, wow, this is like a miracle drug. You can like drink a ton, stay up all night.
Yeah.
And then you get to the point where you do it all by yourself, and that's the bad point. That's where you need to quit.
Now, I used to know someone who had done cocaine for like 7 years or something.
Oh, that's a long time.
And she said that she felt like it may have like burnt out some of like her internal sensors of like having fun, or like it permanently altered her internal chemistry to a point where she was depressed and had anxiety.
Well, what cocaine does is it sets off certain sensors or that I've read about this. Neurons or whatever that come
synapses,
come off like when you're having sex or when you're having like the best feeling of your life.
Yeah.
And it's just like that for hours on end. So it does. But then if you do have depression or anything in your life, the next day after doing coke, when you wake up, you are in such a horrible state of mind that you just want to keep doing it. And that's what leads you on the cocaine
So if you don't
trail.
have like some sort of bipolar disorder, this almost gives that to you in these manic states of positivity and negativity.
It does. No, that's a good example of it.
Interesting. I gotta start doing some drugs, guys. This is fucking crazy.
Well, I always thought, and I thought by this time in my life I would start doing drugs again, because I always said I quit doing them. Or actually, when I did my idiot trivia game, where I started to write and do creative stuff, because I can't do creative things if I'm drinking, doing drugs, whatever. Everything I've ever done creative, I've always been stone cold sober.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, you meet people. Do you guys know Hunter Thompson, the writer?
R.I.P. He shotgun to the head, right?
Yeah. And he was a guy that could pull it off. And in New York, I got to know some people from Rolling Stone that were his editors and found out what an asshole this guy was. He was one of the few people that could like write and do stuff better when he was high. But my whole feeling, especially with myself, I can't do anything better if I'm drunk or high. Is the only thing I can do is get more drunk and get more high. But as far as like doing my blog or writing, no, I have to be stone sober.
Interesting. You feel like all the best music comes from people who love drugs, and it's inspired them to do so.
No, it really doesn't, because there was one funny thing. There was John Lennon from the Beatles in an interview I heard once. They said something about that. Well, how high were you guys in the studio? He's like, no, we always had a rule that like there was no getting high or drinking while we were recording a track. He said, then after the track was done, we'd pull out pot, booze, whatever, and we'd get loaded. But he said always then the next day we'd come back to the studio and listen to what we had done when we were high, and all four of us would go, ooh, that wasn't very good.
I feel like I've seen some photos of Paul McCartney with a sitar baked out of his fucking gourd.
Right.
Anyway, let's move along. Thank you, Marty.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captains have turned on the fasten seatbelt sign.
Bing bong.
Marty's just full of life experience and stories.
It's amazing the amount of detail that you can remember. Like there are times like where like somebody like, "What'd you do last Thursday?" I have no fucking idea. But you're like, "Oh yeah, in 1975, it was on a Saturday." It boggles my mind that. But there are people like that. There are people that have the ability to remember things, and there's people that don't.
Total Recall. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger made a movie about it.
Yeah, I said, not a tumor.
He said, it's a bomb in there. Hey, that also reminds me, all these stories that Marty has. For those who don't know, Marty had done a few tours and some shows called the Marty Monologues, where he would tell some of these stories, where he had these extraordinary experiences, and sometimes they overlapped with like famous musicians and what have you. At one point, I think around COVID time, you had something planned, and it kind of got moved around. Do you have any more Marty Monologues coming up, or anything planned on the schedule? I'd
really like to do more shows. I've got ones that I've kind of done like outlines for, but the place I'd love to do it at here in Peoria is the Apollo Theater.
Okay.
And that theater is closed.
But you had done it there before, right?
Oh, yeah, that's where I did all of them here in Peoria.
Okay, I had seen you there initially, I think on your first run of shows.
Okay.
I remember afterwards they had, I think, an after party at Jimmy's around the corner with some chicken wings, what have you. But yeah, that was a cool place to see you do it, and you would like to go back there.
Yeah, if they would open the place up. No, I would do another show there. But it's kind of up in the air. We'll see. I mean, the main thing in my life that I continue to do is the Meanwhile Back in Peoria blog.
Yeah.
That's kind of my main thing I do right now.
And if you were to do shows at the Apollo, of course, that information about that would pop up there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would do a blog about it.
Very cool. Keep your eyes out for that. I would definitely love to come back and see you do some more of those.
No, thanks. No, I would love to do one. I've always been amazed at the people that do show up for them, because it wasn't my idea to do it. My idea to do it was a friend of mine said, you should do a one-man show and whatever.
Yeah.
And my first reaction to her, and this is like 18 years ago, I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? Because, I mean, I like to write in that because you don't have to do it in front of a crowd.
Right.
I mean, have you guys ever done anything like that?
We've done some live shows.
Yeah, we've done a couple.
Is
couple
it
live shows.
scary to do it for you guys?
For me, it's not scary doing the show. It is the stress and the anxiety of getting things ready for it.
Right.
That up until like the second it starts, that makes it completely unenjoyable because I've already had all that. You know what I mean?
I know.
But I think actually doing the shows is
We had some fun. Yeah,
yeah, we had a good time. I don't want to say they're horrible. I'm just saying, for me, as a person with that has high levels of anxiety and some OCD in a way, it gassed me so much that by the time it started,
You think you have OCD?
I have a rare form of OCD.
Why is it rare?
Because it doesn't follow all the rules, just the rules I want it to follow.
Now, you also, in the 90s, had a case of OPP, correct?
You know me. I
What's
did.
OPP?
Well, it's
Other people's property.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
it's naughty by nature.
We put that naughty to the nature in it.
Hey, today we discussed the pilot episode of Get Rich Quick from the year of our Lord 1900 ad 77. Now, that was a great year.
Good year for the roses. For some people.
Okay, I was going to say, when you say that, it means you had sex with a lot of ladies, but you were barely alive.
No, I was 2 years old, which would make
Wow.
you -4. Marty in
I feel old.
1977, Marty was getting high on acid with his brother in the mornings.
I was 19.
He was 19.
Sounds like a radio show, Getting High with Marty in the Morning.
No, in 1977, that was the year I really got into punk rock. I discovered that the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, first album came out in 77.
Never mind the Bullocks, everybody.
Yeah, no, it was a banner year for me because punk rock was the thing of people of my age. It's like growing up. It's like you felt kind of, and in fact, I did a Marty Monologues show on growing up in the 60s to where like in 1967, I was 9. But watching like the Summer of Love and the Monterey Pop Festival, then in 1969 Woodstock, then I was 11. But watching all this stuff and thinking, God, I'd love to be part of this, but I was just a kid.
Yeah.
So punk rock was the first thing people my age could kind of hang their hat on and say,
Sure.
yeah, I'm going to be part of this.
Right.
And you grew up in the Peoria area, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I hate to deviate, but I have to know, latching onto that scene, loving that, what did that look like in the Peoria area? Because a couple years ago, there was a book released called Punks in Peoria.
Yeah, I know John Wright, who wrote
Yeah,
it.
and he wrote this book, and he assembled this concert, and I went with Dustin, frequent guest of the show, Dustin Wyckoff, and I went to the last half. It was like an all-day event. It was like 8-9 hours, and we went to like the last 4 hours of this concert. It was held in the warehouse district of Peoria.
Right.
And I was like, oh, when I was in high school, the 1996, 1999, these are the years where the scene goes back further than that. And John's book goes back further than that. What did that reach your age when you were in high school at all?
No, I mean, the funny thing about it was it alienated me from like all my friends. The Ramones' first album came out, I think, in 1976, and there was a review of it that said that they sounded like the Beach Boys on speed.
That is exactly right, if you ask me.
It is with
exactly
their
right.
harmonies and everything. And I love the Beach Boys, and I was like hooked on speed at the time. And so I drove to Co-op Records when it was on Main Street.
Yeah.
And no one liked them. So I drove to the record store, went in. I'm like, "Have you got an album by this band called the Ramones?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's on the wall over there." But he's like, "It's horrible."
They weren't hip enough in
Oh,
Peoria
no,
Co-op
no.
to be down with that?
No, he said it's really not any good. All the songs sound the same. I'm like, well, I want to buy it. So I bought it, went home, and I loved it. My brother Jim liked it, but all my friends, I remember there was a period of it was like 76 to 79 that I really got alienated from a lot of my friends for playing punk rock music.
There wasn't a local scene
no,
at
there was
all.
nothing.
So you were and probably not even on the radio.
No.
You're probably just listening to the records that you had purchased.
No, back then, punk rock and the Ramones, other bands will say this. It's like they were like the critics liked it, but they never got played on the radio. They never made any money, and it was this small little like
Community. Cult, yeah.
of people that were really into this punk rock thing, and I was one of them.
How did you find out about them?
I read about them, and I read the review of
It's
the
like
Ramones.
rock and roll magazines.
Yeah,
yeah.
Rolling Stone had the review of it, and so I got into that and just dove into it. But it kind of I was like one of the few people in Peoria that was into punk rock back in the 70s.
Very cool. 1977.
Oh.
Let's go back there.
In our minds.
And we go back there in our minds so we can properly judge, rate, and digest all information related to today's pilot Get Rich Quick, because to do it any other way would be disingenuous.
Right, so we're in 2023, many, many, many years past 1977, so we can't look at this pilot through the eyes of now, because there are things we have now that we did not have then.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. We did not have women's rights at all in 1977.
No rights.
No, they
couldn't even own land.
They had to, they couldn't own land. They had to keep their mouth shut. It was great. It was a great time to be alive. Also,
No comment.
Also, in 1977, there was no Super Bowl for the Chicago Bears.
That's true.
Okay, and living in a world without a Chicago Bears Super Bowl is not one that I
don't
want
wanna
to live
live
in
in that
there.
world. Yeah, I don't
I mean, I was living in it, but I didn't like it.
I had the opportunity to be here, but I stayed in heaven a few extra years.
Yep. And of course, in 1977, and Marty can probably attest to this, there were no Band-Aids. Band-Aids had not been invented yet. So,
Really?
Nope, no Band-Aids in 1977. You might think you remember them.
No, I
There weren't
do
any.
think that I do.
Nope.
Really?
It's called the Mandela Band-Aid effect.
What did they use?
Tourniquets,
Oily
could've
rags,
sworn
dirty,
there were
dirty,
Band-Aids in
dirty
that-
cloths and tape.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
toilet paper. One ply is all they had.
Oh yeah, one ply. You had to wrap a wound like 18 times just to.
Huh.
Yeah. It's the modern equivalent to 9.
When were Band-Aids invented?
It was after 1977.
Good question. Yeah,
I had no idea.
we'll dig into that in the next episode for sure.
I,
Hey,
I was bleeding this weekend. I had to use toilet paper.
yeah, but
'Cause
they
I didn't have any Band-Aids.
but they were invented. You just didn't have any available.
I just have access to any.
Here's some things that did happen back in May of 1977. We'll talk about some films that were released at this time. This would be great because Marty was around back then.
Yeah.
And he'll probably have recollection of this. May 25th, 1977, the film Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope premiered in 32 movie theaters across the United States before reaching other cinemas worldwide. Critics who had previewed the film gave it good reviews, with Time magazine dubbing it the year's best movie. Star Wars would go on to break the record for highest-growing film, surpassing Jaws, The Godfather, and Sound of Music.
Was this the first Star Wars?
Episode 4,
Okay.
New Hope. Yes, sir. That's the first one.
It just confuses me when you call it with the episode.
I'm sorry. Just Star Wars.
Okay. Oh yeah.
The funny thing about Star Wars is I've never seen Star Wars.
No, you have no interest.
No,
I get you.
I don't like science fiction.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence because you can kind of couple like fantasy and stuff with that. And the hottest show for a long time was like tune into HBO Game of Thrones.
See, I never watched Game of Thrones.
I watched 2 episodes and then I started dating this lady. She's like, I love Game of Thrones. Will you watch the episodes with me? I said, all right. So I watched the last season. I don't give a fucking shit about that show.
yeah, I never had any interest in
It's
it.
too involved where you have to remember all kinds of stuff.
Every scene is like here's a table and there's a chair and there's 2 actors. Everything else is a green screen. That is not appealing to me.
Yeah.
I like the practicality of real locations and not dragons.
I have as I've gotten older. I've gotten less and less interested in watching TV shows. Breaking Bad was the last show that I really got into.
Well, Blake can help me out with this one, but the companion piece of that show, Better Call Saul.
I like Better Call Saul, but I didn't like it as well as Breaking Bad. I was obsessed with, and I always say I think that show ruined TV for me because I don't think anything will ever. And the ending of that show was so good.
Yeah.
After the Sopranos ending, did
Oh,
you guys
I love that.
watch?
Yeah.
I love The Sopranos over here.
But I didn't like the ending of it.
I did like the ending.
Did you?
Yeah,
Why?
Yeah. Because we don't need to see Tony Soprano's brains all over the counter.
Is
at
that what you think
Holstein's.
happened, or?
I
remember watching it. I was in New York.
Yeah.
And I used to get an Italian dinner when I watched it.
Yeah.
And I would watch The Sopranos every Sunday night on 8. That's the only reason I had HBO.
Yeah.
And when that ending happened,
eat a big old bowl of spaghetti.
yeah, I was so pissed off, and I'll never forget that as soon as the screen went black, my phone started ringing with friends of mine, and they're like, "What the fuck was that?"
I had read this.
At first, I'd lunge at my TV because I
lunge
thought
it.
my TV went off.
That's exactly. I think that was the universal response to
It
that
was.
episode. I had read this article where someone had or it's like an essay that someone had broke down the different camera shots being used and the different the audible sounds
leading
happening.
up to it.
Yeah, that final scene where you would hear someone open the door of the restaurant, you'd hear the bell when you open the
Right.
door, and there'd be a certain series of shots that you saw, and the final shot is Meadow coming through the door. You don't
Yeah.
see her, but you hear the bell.
Right.
Then you see Tony look up like he had looked
Right.
up at everyone else, and then it was black. Beginning of that
And
season.
that's where people think someone came up to him with a gun.
Beginning of the season, him and who's this? The big fat guy who's his.
Where they talked about what's it like when you die.
And they think it's just black. I
Yeah.
think David Chase was giving us clues, and while it's not definitive, I do think it's a bit of genius, because how do you really stop anything? You know, that's how do you end a song?
Right.
How do you end a comedy sketch? It's tough. I feel like he did it in a way that gave us some sort of resolution, but not really. Define your own ending.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all, and it is funny. I was telling Jason on the way here today, when we're recording this, is the 25th anniversary of the finale of Seinfeld.
That's right. Blake, you famously hate that show.
I don't.
Oh, you didn't
I don't
like
think
it?
it was funny. I didn't think
Really?
it was funny. I never laughed.
I resisted Seinfeld because I didn't like him as a stand-up comic. I didn't think he was that good. And my brother Jim, he loved Seinfeld, and that was going on when I was still here in Peoria. I moved to New York, and they had reruns on there. I think on Channel 11 at like 10:30 at night, and I started watching it then, and I fell in love with it.
I think it's pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought it was genius. A lot of the stuff they did, but I did not like the finale of it.
No, I don't think anyone liked the finale.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Hey, here's something else that happened in 1977. May 28th, the Beverly Hills Supper Club in Southgate, Kentucky is engulfed in fire. 165 people are killed inside. It was a place that Dean Martin was a blackjack dealer back in the day, and the club had a maximum capacity of 1,500, and the attendance that night was of approximately 3,000. Jeez.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Where was the fire marshal?
No shit.
Bill?
This makes me think. First of all, let me tell you something. Do you ever been to a supper club before, Blake?
Yeah, I've been to one. There's one in out by the airport. Isn't there one out by the airport? But yeah,
Way back in the day, there was Sky Harbor, and that moved near Bradley and is now closed, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's one that we went to.
Was it Gill's Supper Club?
No, I have been there too.
I've been to Gill's.
But that didn't seem to be. To me, that's not a supper club.
I
Gill's.
agree.
What is a supper club? I don't know.
Supper
what
club would be
defines-
where you would go and you would sit. I mean, you would be sat next to whoever and whatever was open. But they would have. There's only one meal they would have, and it would.
See, I wouldn't think of Sky Harbor as a supper club.
To me, I felt like back in the day it might have fit that, but where its final resting place at the bottom of the hill by Bradley
Like
there.
Farmington Road.
Yeah, I would not have considered that myself at that time. But back then, who knows?
Yeah.
This it kind of makes me think of something else locally here, and I don't know if it's exactly a supper club, but Marty, you got your fingers in all sorts of interesting things, making the travels around the Peoria area. Creve Core Club.
Oh.
Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah, I know of it.
Have you ever written an article about it? Have you ever
No.
been to the Creve Core Club?
I've been there, and I think my parents were a part of that when I was a little kid. I think they belonged to it.
Is that kind of like a who's who, better business kind of networking?
It's been a variety of things. I don't know what it is today. It's still there. I mean, you can still join.
It's downtown Peoria.
It
right?
is.
Like, have you heard of the Creve
I've
Core
never
Club?
heard of it.
I think
No, you've got to be a member to
I think
eat
there were even
there.
rings at some point. There was,
I don't know.
Maybe like
Ooh,
coins?
I like those kind of things.
You like jewelry?
I like pretty stuff.
I don't know. It's kind of a corny thing, I think.
Is it in the Twin Towers downtown? Is that where
It
it is
might
now?
be now. I don't know.
It's just one of those weird
Like
things.
highfalutin kind of thing.
I think a little bit.
It always kind of was. It was, and you have to join it, which makes it a little highfalutin, if you want
Sure.
to call it that. But you got to be a member to eat there.
It's an exclusive thing.
I've always been the old Groucho Marx thing. I'd never want to be a member of a club that would have me.
Yeah. That's why I stay away from Costco.
Oh, I've never walked in Costco.
Don't let anyone in.
Walmart. I've never been in Walmart.
You've never been in a Walmart?
No, I've never walked in a Walmart.
Where do you buy your deodorant, Marty?
Like just the grocery store.
Okay, that's good. Never been in a Walmart.
No, I refuse to walk in because I hate them. That's a whole different podcast.
You gotta hate the player, not the game. Hey, May 29th, Indianapolis 500, A.J. Foyt becomes the first driver to win the race 4 times.
Huh.
Have either of you been to an Indy 500?
No.
I went to a Brickyard, but not an Indy.
Okay, so I don't know. The Brickyard might be the same thing, but my brother had been to an Indy 500, and I know he doesn't give two shits about the Indianapolis 500, but he went because Radiohead was playing, and it was like a big party.
Oh, I've heard it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Was that your experience going to the Brickyard? Was it like a big party?
Yeah, it was. Well, with the Indianapolis 500, that's Indy cars, which are different than NASCAR cars. And so I went to the Brickyard, which was the same place, but it was with NASCAR. It's huge. It's just huge. And the Indy
Just tons of like tailgating.
the Indy 500 is like the whole weekend. It's like Memorial Day
Yeah.
weekend, and it's just
Yeah.
like the whole weekend. Everybody's just getting shit faced.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I know people that have gone to it, and they all say the same thing. You don't watch a race; you just go to all the little
The
parties.
track's
that are
too big.
going
You can't
on.
see it all anyway.
I think it might be happening when the show is released, and I believe a friend of the show, Kevin Clark, is going.
Nice.
So have fun and be
I thought you were
safe.
going to say have sex.
Do some fucking while you're over at the. All right, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm back in 1977.
I'm ready.
There's 3 reasons why we choose to watch any pilot here on the Couch Pilots program. Marty, do you happen to know what any of those 3 reasons are?
No, but I was curious as to why you chose this one.
Blake, you want to educate him?
The 3 reasons, the 3 pillars of why and what we watch on Couch Pilots is A, it had to be a television show that never went to series. Only 1 episode was made. Whether it aired or not is irrelevant. Number 2, we had to find it on the internet. And number 3, it had to be free, baby. So that's why. 1 was made. It never went to series. We found it on the internet, and it was free. Thank you.
That's it. That's why. That's why we choose to do any of these.
This one was a strange one, I thought, though.
Oh, we're definitely going to get into that. Hey, you can find the entire episode of Get Rich Quick by subscribing to Couch Pilots and SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice, and then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes, or go to YouTube. Marty? Thanks for being here.
Sure, thanks for having me.
attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
Here we go. Strap in.
I love
right.
flying in the summer.
I don't like, being on Couch Pilots, and I'm going to be flying in about a week. I'm going back to New York City.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah, I hate to fly.
What do you? So is it a direct flight, or where are you going? Chicago?
No, I'm going. I think I'm going to North Carolina and then to New York.
Really?
Like, coming back, I think I'm going. Well, I know coming back, I'm going from New York to Chicago.
So what's the reason for the season?
I haven't been there for like 3 years.
Just gonna catch up with old friends?
Yeah, I'm going to see old friends of mine. I mean, when COVID hit, I stopped to travel and everything.
Yeah.
And so I'm just starting to do that again. I haven't been there since 2019.
Oh wow.
So I'm anxious to go back, but I hate to fly.
Yeah.
So you got friends over there. You hate to
Oh, yeah.
fly, but what's like
Is it you hate to fly because you're outside?
No, I've got a variety of. Well, that's one of them, but I have a variety of phobias. I'm a huge fear of heights. I have claustrophobia. I just don't like the feeling of it. There was one time. I mean, I have to get shit faced to fly. I used to come back home when I lived in New York for 19 years. My dad would always make a joke about it. He'd always say when they picked me up at the Peoria airport, "Do you have a few drinks on the way?" And I'd be like, "Yeah."
I've known people like that too. I totally get it. I hate flying myself. I don't freak out. I feel like there's a million planes in the air.
Right.
Like literally 0 commercial crashes a year, maybe 1 a year, but most of the time it's 0. The odds are overwhelming that
they
I'm
are.
going to get there, and I just have to just get out of my own head. But I fucking hate it.
No, I can't stand it. The one time I didn't drink, I thought, you know what? I'm not going to drink this time, and I'll show up sober at Peoria. We were in the air. There was, I think, turbulence happened, and a stewardess literally came up to me because I was just like pouring sweat, and she was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I really need a drink. Can you get me some?" And she gave me free vodka because I was freaking out so bad.
Understandable. My God. So let me ask you this: you go to New York City. Do you have a favorite place? You're like, hey. Well, I'm here. I'm going to this restaurant. I have to.
Well, one place I'm going to go to is Keen's because it's one of the Keen's Steakhouse. It's one of the last places that's left since I lived there.
Is this in Manhattan or
Yeah.
where? Okay.
Oh, it's all in Manhattan.
Okay.
I mean, that it's always a bittersweet thing for me to go back because everything I loved is pretty much gone. My favorite bar, the Mars Bar, that's gone. There was a bar called the Stone Crow. That's gone. New York has just changed so much in the years.
Yeah, but I'm glad you still have friends there and a reason to go back. That's
I do,
good.
but the sad thing is when I see my friends, it's like we'll all get together, but all everyone says, "Oh, New York sucks now. I hate it here." And I'm like, I'm always thinking, I don't say it to them, but I'm thinking, well, why do you still live here?
Yeah.
Because it's one of the hardest cities to live in.
It's got to be tough. I don't think I don't think I can make it.
It's not easy.
Unless Lauren Michaels said, "Do you think you could live in New York?" That I would say yes to him.
I just too many people. I can't.
Hey,
Well, I mean, but also just the expense of it. Like I had to work 60 to 80 hours a week just to live there.
I don't know if you've ever done this or not, Blake, but I go down these YouTube rabbit holes of New York real estate.
Oh, I've been on those.
Of like, here's the smallest apartment in New York. It's $650, and you can't turn around. You walk into it, and you just stand there.
No, now it's like $2,000.
Isn't it crazy? I go down some of those rabbit holes sometimes. It's nuts.
But the weird thing for me, I'm really glad I moved there in 1993, is that there was no internet then. And that was back when you had to move to New York, like if you wanted to be a writer in your mind or whatever. Because in my mind, it's like I want to be published in New York. And I have been. I've written for the New York Post, the Daily News, Time Out New York. But now you don't need to with the internet. So I was the last wave of people to move there before the internet happened. And now you don't have to be there.
Yeah, you have to be anywhere just to have a job. You could
Yeah.
You do it anywhere.
You'd be in Arizona doing
Right.
your column for the New York Times or whatever.
Yeah, unless it's a specific New York Reviewer thing of restaurants or that.
Yeah.
You can write for the New York Times from Peoria. So to me, the internet is just one of the many things that killed. It was the adventure for me was to sell everything I owned and move to New York. It was really something that a lot of people never get to experience, and I feel grateful that I did.
That's awesome.
You had the gonads to do it. A lot of people wouldn't.
Hey, Get Rich Quick consisted of 2 teams of 3 that competed in a game of forming questions one word at a time. That's the summary. Blake, you want to grade that?
Basic bitch, but I like it. A B+.
B+. We use a grading scale of when you're in school, A to F. Do you want to grade the summary? You don't have to.
I'd give it a D.
A D,
Because I
okay.
didn't like the format at all.
Okay. All right, well, that's just the
The
summary.
format of your summary he didn't like. Oh, he's a writer, though.
I mean, the summary and the format of the show.
Marty's a professional. He's been paid for it.
Right.
He knows more than I do. He knows more than interesting facts, I tell you that much.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Interesting Facts. This is the part of the show where Jason has scoured the internet to find out facts about this show that you may not know. All he asks is that you don't taint someone else's experience. Keep your comments to yourself. Enjoy the facts.
One of them is, before you get to it, is that Deborah Lee Scott drank herself to death.
That's so funny. I have that information. I have that information. You know what?
The
Fuck
redhead?
Let's get into it.
She-
What do
she-
you know about it?
She died of cirrhosis of the liver
Do you know why?
because her husband died a weird death or something.
He died in 9/11.
Right.
She never got over his death. That's so weird that you have that exact information. Yes, Deborah Lee, who was in this,
She started out on Welcome Back, Kotter.
she died in 2005.
Yeah.
Never got over her husband's death, who died in the events of 9/11.
Wow.
She drank herself to death.
It's not like he just got in a car accident and on 9/11. He actually was, was on the
Right.
tower or something. But that's interesting. That's funny. I was going to bring that up later, but you beat me to it. Hey, go
She
ahead.
started on Welcome Back, Kotter. She was Hotsy Totsy.
Oh, that was her. She was Hotsy Totsy?
Yeah, that was
Wow.
her first role
That's a pretty good
of
role.
any recognizable thing.
Okay, so the release date of Get Rich Quick was October 30th, 1977. Fact. Get Rich Quick was the failed Bob Stewart pilot that premiered the format of forming questions one word at a time. Fact. 2 teams of 3 consisting of 2 celebrities and 1 contestant competed in a game of conveying answers. Fact. Shot at the ABC Studio TV-15 in New York City, New York.
City.
Get a rope. Maybe you. Did you ever been to ABC Studio TV-15 in New York, Marty?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
Or not that he will let us know about.
That's true. That's true.
I had some blurry years in New York, so I could have been.
You mean the year that every day you went to a bar?
Yeah.
Or what'd you tell me on the way over? There was 7, and in 7 days you went to how many bars? 99?
Yeah, I've got a book, and you can actually find this on.
That's like
Is it on
14.
eBay?
That's like 14 a day.
Yeah,
It's like 14 bars a day.
It was crazy. It was called the book is called 99 Beers Off the Wall.
Yeah.
You can find it on. is it eBay or someone is selling a copy of this book for like $2,000.
You know what? I'll do it. I'll buy it for $2,000.
No, the next time I see you guys, I'll bring you. I've got a few copies of it left, but it was called 99 Beers Off the Wall. I went to 99 bars in my 7-day vacation from work.
That'd be cool to read.
That's the kind of alcoholism that requires planning.
It did.
Because you can't wander into 14 bars a day. You have to plan that out.
No, I had a whole schedule.
Yeah.
And the book is a whole diary of those 7 days.
That's cool.
of
That'd be cool.
drinking.
I want to read that book. Hey, the concept of the pilot's main game would later be used as a bonus round on the 1980 and 2006 to 2007 versions of Chain Reaction, and as the main concept for the game show Go. Fact.
I don't know the
I don't
game show
remember
Go.
This was Steve Edwards' first game show pilot, followed by 1979's Pandemonium and the 1990 pilot for the syndicated run of Scrabble. He is more well known as the host of Good Day LA on local Fox station KTTV 11. Fact.
And sexual harassment did him in.
Maybe so.
No, it did.
Oh,
I found that out.
so you have information I don't. What happened to Steve Edwards?
He got fired because of sexual harassment. I did see that I did Google him today.
Now you're not talking about former vice presidential candidate John Edwards, are you?
No, no.
Also a huge piece of shit.
Right. No, there was he did something, I guess, to somebody.
Ooh, boy, Steve, come on, get it together, man. Hey, Get Rich Quick has been shown on GSN as well, Game Show Network. End of interesting facts.
Good job on the facts, buddy.
All right, that's it. Twitter responses.
Twitter responses. I wonder if Jason got some Twitter responses.
Blake has a golden throat.
That's what all the guys say. Oh, shit.
No, I don't have any Twitter responses. Most of these people are dead. You know who's dead who shouldn't be dead is John Ritter. God damn it, that's a fucking tragedy.
Yeah, he should not have been dead.
By all accounts, he was a good guy.
How did he die?
He had a heart attack on the set of like Here Are the Rules for Dating My Daughter or something like that. He fell over and died. It's fucking tragic.
I didn't know that.
I've heard tell on Three's Company. He had, or I think originally the guy, the landlord was Don Knotts. Isn't that right, Mr. Furley?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Didn't he replace the original one, Norman Fell?
Oh, you're right. The Ropers were original.
Yeah.
And then came in Furley later.
I think so.
Well, on the show, I heard tell that on Three's Company they would have the bimbo of the week. It'd be like on Seinfeld, Jerry was always dating a new girl every fucking episode. And it's the same thing with John Ritter, I think, on Three's Company. So they have the bimbo of the week. But John Ritter was not like a Lothario or anything. But you know who was? It was fucking Don Knotts. So
he got all the pussy probably.
Don Knotts he'd take a lady out to the woodshed, is what they call it, and they'd say, "Hey Don, I thought you were married," and he said, "I am, but it's not going well." So he'd fuck these 20-year-old broads, and he's like this decrepit old man.
Can't wait.
To him.
I can't wait for those days.
It's coming, buddy. You'll get there.
I'm getting there.
All right, let's break down the pilot of Get Rich Quick. And I'm going to go ahead and let you start because some of our guests are here. I'm going to let them in for next episode.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. Marty, jump in whenever you feel the need.
Okay.
Obviously, this is a game show, which everybody knows since we've been doing this show for 39 years. That I love game shows. I love watching them, and I love these pilots. So it's called Get Rich. Again,
Get Rich Quick.
Get Rich Quick. And Steve Edwards, as you said, he comes out and he's the host, and he says, the way to win this game is the quicker the richer. That's like his slogan.
There's pressure in there too.
Yeah, every game show host has some kind of slogan, like
right.
Spay and neuter your pets, or they have some slogan. So his is, the quicker, the richer. And they go through the stars. There's two famous people on each team.
Right.
We had John Ritter and some guy from soap operas. I don't remember the other guy. And
Ulrich.
Yeah, I don't remember him. And then there was a lady contestant, okay, and her name, I believe, was Karen.
I think it was.
That's one team.
Right.
And then the other team has this Deborah Reed, right? That was
Deborah Lee Scott.
Deborah Lee Scott.
And the other woman, I didn't know who she was.
I didn't know who she was
Tammy
either.
Lynn or something?
This Tammy Lynn, I'll just let you know, throughout this whole thing, she is in this. It is a business for her. She is not having any fun.
Her name is Lenny Green, and she is
Lenny
She
Green.
is by far the most competitive person.
Oh,
on
yeah.
this.
She is not there to make jokes. She's there to get answers right, win the game.
And it's funny because I think the celebrities are paid a little bit, but like they're not winning any huge amounts of
Right.
money here.
They're more to promote their stuff.
Right.
I think when you're programmed as a person who's super competitive, that just comes out in every facet of a time that competitiveness
Yeah.
can
Okay,
rear
so
its head.
yeah, and so on that team, the actual normal person, the guest is Kevin. So it's Karen versus Kevin, and I guess I can go through. This is how you win. So you have a word, and you're trying to get the person who's guessing to guess that word, but each of your teammates can only say one word at a time to form a sentence to make you answer to get you to answer that.
Two players are trying to construct a sentence or a clue one word at a time in order for their third team member to guess the correct answer.
Right.
Right.
And I will say too,
So it takes all three. It takes all three to make this happen.
it does, and I'll say this too: when as soon as the two people on the team know what the answer is and have to construct a sentence around that, as soon as they know what that one word is or that answer is, so does the studio audience because they react sometimes. You hear them audibly react
Right.
to those answers.
Yeah, above the screen, and this is 1977, so the graphics are dinosaurish. But
Yeah.
there is this bar, this bar, and this is the timer.
Yeah.
So the
Kind,
first
kind of unnecessary. You think I would just like a little ticker in the bottom corner.
yeah,
or something.
which is the numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first team goes and you try to get a 4. You're trying to get 4.
Right.
It's
As quick as possible.
As quick as possible. And then the other team goes and they have to get their 4 in less time than it takes you to get your 4.
I made notes, pretty extensive notes in the first couple rounds, and then I kind of dropped out of that because there's like two halves to the show. Kevin's team starts. There's two players who are trying to construct a sentence one word at a time, and the team that gets 4 correct answers in the least amount of time wins, and the first to win 3 rounds wins the game.
Yeah, and then they go to the hot spot for $5,000.
Yes, that's what they do after they win it. So the first answer they give is drum, and their clue is, what instrument do you beat? And drum.
I would have said Dick.
You
I
would have
would've
said Dick on national television. Do you think it would have been Dick? Then Barbra Streisand was an answer, and they said, "Who sings people?"
Right.
People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. I think is a song. And then, ouch! What do you say when you hurt yourself? And then this last one's interesting because the answer is hula, and the sentence for the clue is, "What do Hawaiians wiggle?" And Brenda Lee, or Deborah Lee rather, she incorrectly answers. And when you incorrectly answer, that means you have to move on to the next one. You can't do another sentence to try to get them to guess the same answer. You move on to a completely new answer to try to construct a new clue.
Right. And you do have the option of passing as well.
Yeah.
Are they somewhere?
Your dogs?
Dogs?
My brother's upstairs
Why?
because he's waiting for my sister to get here.
Okay,
And
okay.
then when he comes in, he's going to close the garage door and come down.
Okay. All right.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fucking on it.
Okay. I'll just tell Eli to put the dogs away.
Or euthanize them, whatever works best.
No.
So then they say sword, and what do you fight with? An Errol Flynn. And Errol Flynn, the name rings true. What is Errol Flynn? Can you tell me what Errol Flynn is, Marty?
He was an actor that always starred in like pirate movies and stuff. He was a known guy with a sword.
Okay. Well, they did.
That's called me. I'm the
Kind of
dumb,
Blake.
I'm the dumb guy
There
with
you
the
go.
sword.
It's kind of Blake. Blake is the Errol Flynn of our generation.
There you go.
Was he gay?
Oh
Errol
yeah, deeply gay.
Errol Flynn was?
Very gay. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know either. They did it in 31 seconds. Now it's Karen's team, and they Humphrey Bogart and Charlie's Angels was some of their answers. I have to ask Marty though, living in that time, did you have that famous Farrah Fawcett poster up in your bedroom?
No, I didn't. But
That's probably the next generation after you, right? Who probably had that.
Oh, I don't know what year that would have been. I think that was in the years where I was just doing so many drugs that it just like I just
He was
didn't
buying
care.
records. He didn't have time to buy drugs and records.
You know
He didn't have
the
time to buy
poster I'm
posters.
talking
Yeah,
about, right?
the infamous Farrah Fawcett, where she's like this.
She's like in a red one-piece bathing suit.
Her nipples are like,
and her nipples are cutting glass.
oh
in it.
yeah, It's straight out there.
So, and during this part, this is where they're kind of when Steve is explaining to Karen's team, John Ritter is in the middle. He's the one guessing the words, and he's explaining the timer, the light, and so like John Ritter's like looking up, and right off the bat, this is the sense I got. John Ritter is a guy that likes to have fun and is a loose guy. Likes to have fun. He is what points out to me what is wrong with this game.
What's
overall.
that? What does that mean?
Well, if you're going to have funny people on this show, they're going to make jokes. And so if that person's on my team, it's going to make my time longer no matter what. Because they don't stop or pause it.
He does seem more interested in having fun and entertaining the crowd than he does winning the game.
Right.
You're absolutely right about that.
The thing I found weird about the whole thing was that they didn't talk to the stars and to the people. Like, you never found out what the ordinary people,
You're right.
what they did.
Yeah, you're right.
Who they were.
It was very rushed.
Which I kind of like on game shows to hear, oh, this is Johnny, and he works at so-and-so.
Yeah, Alex Trebek would be like Kevin O'Brien.
Right.
You're sitting with Robert Ulrich and John Ritter. I see here you're a school teacher.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that. We didn't get any of that.
And to me, that's one of the things I like about game shows. It's like, oh, this ordinary slob is now with these two guys.
Absolutely.
But they didn't do any of that.
They did not.
And it was just all, I don't know. I didn't like the premise of it.
I feel like this whole pilot is rushed. When he's explaining the rules, he goes super fast.
Right.
So I think this is one of those things. This is the first time they're doing it, and they're trying to cram.
I think they're also like coming up with some of the rules on the spot because Kevin's team wins the first round, so we start the next round, but the players do not change the order of who starts the clue sentences. It's always the same person starting, and they always start with the same group of people. It just there's no rhyme or reason to why they're doing some of these things.
Okay,
and I felt that was odd. There's some more answers got in the next round were amen. What do you say after a prayer? A skunk. What animal smells? Earth. Smokey bear. They do it in 21 seconds. Karen's team goes. And they don't get through it. They exhaust all the time,
right.
so they lose that round. And Kevin wins. His team wins round 2, and for the third round, Karen's team is up first. But how do they determine which team gets to go first?
Well, I think that it's the first team goes first, and they go first twice, and then the other team goes.
But why is it like
that? Does it depend on who loses? Is that the deal?
It doesn't. It should, but it doesn't.
I feel like it depends on who. If someone is behind 2, then that third round goes to the losing team. That's what I feel like is happening. But we don't have enough history of the game to really have a rhyme or reason why that's happening, or if that's even true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, let's see here. Kevin's team wins. So Karen's team's kind of dismissed. Kevin's team now has a chance to win $5,000 in less than a minute. They leave their seated area with the answers, like the monitors that they have the answers in, and they go stand behind like this desk area or this counter. And now they're in, you call it the hot spot round?
It's the hot spot. And you want me to explain what this hot spot is?
Yes,
I found it really confusing.
I found it confusing the first time they did it, but the second time I completely understood.
See, I didn't.
So basically, there are letters across the top of the screen. And there's 3 different categories, and you have to, if somebody names a category, you have to name something that goes with that has the letter from up top. But what I noticed was there's 3 people. One person picks the letter. The person in the middle picks the category, and the third person has to pick the letter and choose the word, which I didn't realize that.
See, and that's what I never really got the concept of this whole
Yeah,
thing.
no, it made
confusing.
It made sense the second time more so. The first time I was completely confused.
Me too.
So the 3 are standing there, and there's kind of like this border around them that the television. I don't
Trump
know,
built that.
Well, he had Mexico pay for it, thankfully. Across the top, there were letters BAR or BEAPCGLRS, and then at the very bottom, there are 3 categories: vegetables, military ranks, and the wedding. And so, one person chooses a category, the next person chooses a letter, and the final person has to choose something in that category that starts with that letter.
And so,
if that person gets it right, it gets something that does fit those requirements, that letter is removed from the board. Right. And and as soon as all those letters are removed, that person, if they can do that under a minute, wins $5,000.
Right. And so
I still don't get it.
I
even after you telling me all this,
I do get it. I do definitely get it, but it seems a little confusing.
Well, and the thing to me too is like the grand prize was $5,000. That's not getting rich. Even back in 1977, $5,000
was $17 million back then.
I know it wasn't. I mean, it was $5,000. So I thought the money could have been a little bit more.
It's almost enough to buy a house or a car back then. I watched a lot of Price is Right. That's almost enough to buy a car back then.
But that's not being rich if you can buy a car.
That is true.
And it was called getting rich quick.
That's true.
So you're not getting rich quick at all.
I was thinking, you know what? Who cares if it's getting rich? But you're right. The name is fucking literally Get Rich Quick.
For whatever reason, that bugged the shit out of me. It's like you're not getting rich.
Yeah.
$5,000 in 1977 would be the equivalent of $25,000 today.
And it's not rich.
Again, you're not rich with $25,000.
Hey,
at all.
I've done a lot worse for a lot less.
He gets
but still.
He gets 8 out of the 9. He gets $800. They go to a commercial. We come back. Now we've switched up the teams. Kevin's with John Ritter and Deborah Lee Scott. And the new player, I think her name is Danae
Legion.
Legion, yes. And she is with
whore.
Robert. She's a whore. We later find out that she's a whore. She's with
a
Robert.
A dirty whore.
Marty dated her.
Dirty whore.
I already dated her in New York at the time.
It cost me a lot of money.
She's with Robert Urich.
She did not want to go to 14 bars a day.
And Lenny Graydon. Kevin's team goes first. And I won't go through all the answers and everything this time, but there was one answer of a peeping Tom, but it made me think of Blake during this round for some reason.
It made me think of a dirty, dirty whore.
32 seconds is what they did here. So Danae's team, thankfully, she beats 32 seconds.
Because she does not have John.
She's good at beating.
She does not have John Ritter on her team.
John Ritter is fun, but he seems to be the person that's causing the problems.
He is the one that's caused.
He seemed to me like he didn't like the experience.
I don't think that these actors that were on here, I don't think they even understood the concept of the show as they were starting.
Except Deborah Lee Scott, who was intensely involved.
Yeah. But I do think that...
drunk the whole time.
She's fucking wasted, yeah.
I wrote down I thought John Ritter was high. But yeah, I think he's having a good time with it and not realizing that his good time is causing whoever's on his team to not win.
Kevin's team goes again after they lose that first round. Midway through this round, I start to think, do these clues that these two people are giving to form it, do they have to be a full sentence, or can you press your button halfway through? And
no, I don't think they did.
What does the game consider a full sentence? For example, one of the answers was peanuts, and immediately in my mind, I think Charlie Brown. Could they just say Charlie and Brown, or do they have to form it in a full sentence?
I was under the impression at the beginning when he was explaining the rules very, very quickly that it had to be a sentence.
Oh, see, I didn't think it did, because the one thing with the Errol Flynn one, that wasn't a full sentence.
I feel like the people who are creating the sentence, they don't always know where they're starting and where they're going to end.
You wouldn't.
So they meander a little bit. Sometimes the sentences go on way longer than they should. But with the Peanuts one, they get there quick. But for me, I would just say Charlie and have the next guy say Brown, hopefully, and then you would get to Peanuts. But I didn't know if that would disqualify you in some way.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. They do 42 seconds. Danae wins.
She got
that
the
round.
win.
Yeah. So now we go to the same situation as last time. One team has 2 rounds won, and they started each round. But then we change which team goes first. Now one team has won 2 rounds, but still the same team continues to go first. So the only rhyme or reason I can think of is by the 3rd round, if you are trailing, then you get to go first. Other than that, they're not really explaining the rules to us or what to expect.
No, I found it all confusing.
Yeah.
Danae's a dirty, dirty whore. That's the only thing we've
if we take anything away from this,
come to the conclusion of.
Kevin, his team goes 44 seconds. Danae, her team wins, and then they go on like last time
to the hot spot.
To that hot spot.
And she won, didn't she?
Yes, she did. The categories were fruit, awards, and president. Mm-hmm. And this is where I wrote the middle person is the most important.
Oh, you think so?
I think the middle
Why?
person is most important because the first person picks a letter. It doesn't fucking matter, right?
Yeah,
it
right.
doesn't matter. The second person has to quickly think, okay, that letter, what's something in I'm responsible for the categories.
Yeah.
So what does the second person do? This is where I'm still
The
confused.
second person has to pick the category. First person picks a letter.
Okay.
Second
Well, let's give him an example. Okay, so I'm going to pick, the first person picks the letter you said?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to say P and say the second person said fruits.
Pineapple.
Exactly. The last person would say pineapple because that is a fruit that starts with
The
P.
middle person is the way to connect it the fastest because they have to decipher which is the best category for that.
You're talking about 9 of those in a minute.
Hey,
I feel
it's a hot spot, man.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a
It's
hot
tough.
spot.
And all you get
It's
is
$5 fucking grand.
$5,000 for all
which
this
we
shit.
decided was $32 million today. Man, so that's a lot of money. Hey, as the host says goodbye, we are kind of able to understand that the celebrities will be there all week long. And then he says the oddest goodbye phrase I have ever heard.
And I didn't get
I haven't
that.
written down.
I didn't write it down, but it is
I didn't-
very
I
odd.
didn't
If
get
you're
that.
out on the street,
No, I wrote it down exactly.
okay.
Let me read it if you don't mind.
Yeah.
He says, until then, this is Steve Edwards saying, thank you for being with us, and I hope you walk down the street and something happens to you and
so
you get rich quick.
Yeah, it was not.
He
a
says,
good,
goodbye, everybody, so long. So are we to presume that the contestants on that day's show were just walking down the street and someone pulled them into the studio
I
to
think
perhaps
he's trying
get
to
rid-
have a creative tagline, and he thought they told him like 15 minutes before the show started, hey, at the end of this, you have to have a goodbye tag.
I
And
hope you walk down the street and
That's funny, I
something
missed
happens
that.
to you
I
and you
didn't
get
get-
it
rich
was odd.
quick.
It was odd.
It is fucking
Yeah.
weird. Me like you that.
Please remain seated as we are now crossing a zone of turbulence.
Obviously, the show didn't work. It was a one and done situation. Marty, why didn't Get Rich Quick work?
Well, because you don't get rich quick on the fucking show. You get $5,000
you-
fucking dollars.
From Jump Street, it's
But-
a bad premise.
But you're focusing on the $5,000 for each game. It's only like $200, so that's
Yeah,
even
so no one,
So
one is getting rich.
So with that name, you're saying with that name, the jackpots or the pots should be bigger than any
No,
other game.
I
show.
really think this is why Deborah Lee Scott drank herself to death.
Jesus. We need to define.
Took a long time to figure it out.
We
though.
need to define what getting rich actually means, and then
Ask Richie
What,
Rich.
what is it? That's an interesting thing.
Yes.
What would your definitions of getting rich quick be? How much money?
Well, let's in today's terms, since we
right,
are
just to 2023.
Okay.
What if somebody said to you,
I have a sneaking suspicion that if someone gave me $1 million,
You'd feel rich.
I could live off of that.
see, I don't think that would be it, especially at your age.
Yeah.
To me, it would be like $25 million.
$25 million.
Yeah.
It's a lot of acid and a
So-
lot of records.
So get rich
A
quick.
lot of
when-
not really a lot of cocaine. I mean,
Not really. Now that you break it down, not really a lot of cocaine.
no.
I think that if you're going to name the show Get Rich Quick, there at least needs to be the possibility of getting rich
Right,
quick.
of a big, but it also ought to be something that like be really hardly attained. That like
Yeah.
some player like on what are some
Who Wants
game
to be a
shows that-
millionaire?
yeah,
You know?
they go on for a
Or
long
the suitcase
time.
one.
Yeah. What's that, Deal or No Deal?
Yeah, that's tough.
I'm not going to tell you that every week someone is going to get rich. They might,
Right,
but not necessarily. But there needs to be at least the possibility of getting rich quick, and it can't be the modern day equivalent to $25,000.
of getting to a point of like a crazy amount of
Yeah,
money, like
yeah.
maybe once a year it would happen. Or
Well,
something.
it has to be a thing too, where you were the guy, just kind of like Jeopardy,
Okay, so are you
where,
guys-
where you win week after week, and you're the guy who
Right.
stays
Yeah.
in that hot seat, and you're really accumulating money.
If you're a television producer, you change the name or do you change the amount of money? You change the fucking name, right? If it was a different name,
What would the name be then?
it could be one of a gazillion things.
Get fucked.
yeah.
Get fucked yourself.
in 1977, I think you could get away with "Go fuck yourself" on TV.
But I'm being legitimate here.
Well,
you're
okay.
a brand new game show. You haven't even been picked up yet.
See, I really think though the name was good. Get rich quick.
We had mentioned Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I think all the way up to $1 million. I think the last stop before $1 million was $500,000. if you won $1 million and the chances of that were so low
Right.
that the game show, like other game shows currently do and of the past, they were insured. There is an insurance policy here to where they don't have to pay it, and the insurance company does. The insurance company any insurance companies is statistics and gambling. They roll the dice that if you give them X amount of money, if it happens on the small percentage that something fucked up happens, the insurance company has to pay out.
Right.
That's the gambit.
Okay.
And so so you could up the money. The Get Rich Quick, I agree, is a good name.
Yeah.
But you just have to follow through with it.
It intrigues people. Get rich quick. People want to hear that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Blake, what would you do to improve it? Is it just making someone rich quick, or is it like changing the name?
I didn't have as big a problem, obviously, as you two with the jackpots. I understood in 1977 when I was 2 years old, I wasn't making a lot of fucking money either.
It was a good year for your roses, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I think they actually dropped.
Your roses dropped that year?
Yeah, my roses dropped. I do think, like I said earlier, who you have on that. It penalizes, like if you had somebody like Don Knotts on there, or somebody famous, it's not going well, or somebody that their shtick is, their persona is to make jokes all the time. Whoever has that person on their team is going to fucking lose.
Give me the dramatic actors, right?
I'm just saying that this timer thing makes it difficult to fairly measure. Make it fairly. It's too hard to make it competitive, equally competitive.
Okay,
that is the only fucking problem I had.
There's some good notes. Blake, I heard him tell you earlier when I left the room that he loves game shows.
Yeah.
So he's predisposed to love this, and I get that. I understand that. And
I was excited. excited.
I will tell you this. We got another game show coming up in a little bit, too.
Good. Thank you.
We got more
Thank
game
you,
shows
buddy. I love you.
You got it.
Hey, I said I love you.
I love you, too.
Okay, thank you.
Christ. Rotten Tomatoes score, there's nothing there. IMDb, it's on IMDb, but there's no score there.
No, I couldn't find anything on there.
Critic reviews, usgameshow.net says, this show could have sold if it didn't look so cheap. The set looked just like Pyramid, and if the sing-song clue giving didn't sound so annoying. I will say this. This is a boring game show.
Oh, yeah.
I was bored by watching these celebrities fumble through these sentences. And there was no pomp and almost no circumstance here. We're talking about blue carpet, some pink lights. That was it. This is a boring show to watch.
Well, and again, they didn't get into anybody's background, which that really bugged me.
When Karen's off work, what does she like to do? I would love to know.
What are her hobbies?
What were they? I mean,
well, I know what their hobbies. Oh, that was Deidre's hobby. Deidre's hobby is fucking. Is what Marty thinks. He's like, Deidre is fucking somebody.
I think that's what was happening, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FCF.
She's probably the reason why they cleaned up Times Square down.
Could be. Very well could be.
For your safety
All the
and
sucking and
comfort,
fucking.
Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened until the captains turn off the fasten seatbelt sign.
Bing bong. Hey, this is the part of the show where we give a score to the pilot. Mm-hmm. Taking all the information that we've accumulated so far, we've broken down the pilot. We've given you the interesting facts. We put you in the mindset and the time frame of which the pilot was created. Now,
we gave you currency exchange numbers.
Thank you for doing that. That was an extra step that you took today. Thank you, Blake.
I took initiative.
You did. You took initiative. Now we will we'll digest all that information.
It's sober, Blake. Taking initiative. Look at him go.
We'll regurgitate a score, and we do that on a very specific scoring system. Blake, will you tell us about that scoring system?
Yes, the scoring system is based on the 1990s television show Wings, which was a great television series. Second only to The Golden Girls, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And it's a 1 through 7. A 1 being the worst, that's a Roy Biggins. And a 7 being the best, that's a Brian Hackett. Marty, you've been here your 5th time. Congratulations again, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we didn't get your sizes for the shirt. Didn't get it taken care of. How do you rate Get Rich Quick? 1 through 7.
I'd give it a 3.
Okay.
I really thought it was a bad game show.
Yeah.
I thought the whole set, like you said, was cheaply done. And I also got the sense that, I couldn't tell with the two people that were there, that I guess you call them normal people, but I got the sense that the stars that were there really kind of felt like what am I doing here? I got the sense that they didn't want to be there.
Deborah Lee Scott.
I got the sense that they didn't understand what the show.
I feel like Deborah Lee Scott was kind of into it.
Oh yeah,
Leanie Green, like we said, super competitive.
Yeah, the two guys are just like
the two guys are just fucking around.
But I don't think
Robert York seems like a good dude.
All through this pilot, they're like, no, did we win that? They didn't know if they even won a round.
They didn't give a shit. They were just there to have fun.
Yeah.
Captain Philip, rest assured, we turn towards you. How do you rate Get Rich Quick?
If somebody gave me $5,000 right now, I would feel like $1 million. Because $5,000 nowadays is almost $1 million. I am going to tell you guys, I love game shows. Horrible game shows, good game shows.
What's your favorite game show? Since you love them so much.
I like Tic-Tac-Toe. The Celebrity Tic-Tac-Toe.
Oh, Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares. I love that.
Is that your favorite one?
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Who was your favorite?
I would watch it.
Who was your favorite Hollywood Square? Was it Paul Lynde?
Is that the gay guy?
Yeah, he was the guy in the middle. He was the funniest guy on the show.
I loved it. I loved when they would have two people in the same square. Like, they would have like Winona Judd and her, Ashley Judd in the same square. That was completely fucking ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. I got bills to pay here. I had to lower my score simply because it wasn't a fair game for both contestants because of the whole, if you got a comedian on yours, you're fucked. Because the clock kept going. Okay. If they made a joke and the audience laughed, what you want the audience to be interacting with it, by the audience laughing or something, you're getting penalized. If I was Kevin, I would have been like, listen, fuck him. I want to give it a 5, but I understand it's not as fair as it could be. I'll give it a 4. I want to give it a 5 really bad, but I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to be realistic.
Blake is the most purist scorer because he loves game shows, and he's not automatically giving it a high score. You are the purest scorer in this circumstance.
I have dedicated 39 years of my life to this podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
And for me, I don't want to cheat myself. Mm-hmm. I don't want to cheat you.
Thank you.
I don't want to cheat Marty. I don't want to cheat our guests that are on next week's episode, which I already know about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 4. I want to give it a 5. If there would have been a set of boobies in there, definitely would have gone.
I am going to give this a 2.
Oh! Wow, the lowest.
I don't like this. The set is junk. I like this. I like the celebrities. I didn't know Deborah Lee Scott. I didn't know Lenny Green.
I still don't know who she is.
Well, she was on a. I have it in my notes here.
She was fucking intense, is what she was.
She was on a show called On Our Own. I think it went 22 episodes, maybe Oz season back in like 76, 77.
I don't even remember that.
Well, it's because you were high on acid.
You're fucked up, Marty.
You were listening to records. You weren't watching TV.
But the set sucks.
Oh.
The host kind of sucks.
Yeah, he was terrible.
The rules are not clear / fair. There's a little something to this, but only if I'm doing it at my house with my friends.
I still don't understand it.
That's a big problem, Marty.
After all you've said and done today, I still don't get the premise of this fucking thing.
That's a big part of the problem, is that we don't understand the rules. We don't understand who's going first or why. It's just a big mishmash. It could be reconstructed.
Like you said, does it have to be a whole sentence or not? That was never really made clear. I don't think it did.
A lot of question marks up in the air.
Yeah.
And because of that, I give it a 2. Blake, you said you give it a 4, and Marty gives it a 3.
Give it a 3.
And with that, we'll close the book on Get Rich Quick, and we'll never mention that show again.
Ever.
Oh my God, there's a great heaviness on me.
Like a dirty, dirty whore on top of you.
I think Marty just likes to say dirty whore. I don't know.
I also think that. Join us next time, won't you please, as we watch the pilot episode of Life as We Know It. Here's a little something to wet your whistle. Sketch comedy special featuring the best talent from the Second City improv clubs. You can find the entire episode of Life as We Know It. Actually, hold on a second. I think I screwed something up here. We might have to edit that out. Hey, what did we say? With that, we close the book on Get Rich Quick, and we'll never speak of that again?
Ever. We did that part.
Okay.
Ever.
What I meant to say was join us again next time when we begin our unprecedented 40th and final season of Couch Pilots. Here's a little something to wet your whistle. Anyway, you can find the entire episode of Life as We Know It by subscribing to Couch Pilots on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app of choice, and then simply click on one of our classically blue links in our show notes, or go to YouTube, Blake.
You know what to do to.
Our final season
Final season ever.
will be done.
10 episodes.
Yeah, we have 10 more episodes to do, and then we're done with the show.
40 years of doing this show.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that next time for sure. Until then, go to couchpilotspodcast.com. All of our past episodes are there.
One-stop shop.
That's right. Thank you. Couchpilotspodcast at gmail.com is our email address. You can find us on Facebook or Twitter. We have a Patreon account. Oh, whatever. At this point.
You said senior fever. What is it?
Senioritis.
Senioritis?
Yeah. Is it leaking through? Again, we're going to talk a lot more about that next episode. Marty, Marty might be our most interesting guest.
Oh, I would.
Oh, for sure.
That.
He really. Have you?
No, thank you, but I wouldn't go that far.
He's got the life experience and the stories, and I don't know. He really might be the guy that we have on here that's got the most interesting things to say.
For sure.
Well, thanks.
Thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me. It's been great to meet you guys, and I hope we can hang out even.
I would honestly
after.
love it. Yeah,
we'll have to
definitely
make a point of
definitely
hanging out.
You have projects that you work on. We've talked about Midwest Slice of Life, and it was we were talking about pizzas at one point. Then it went to tenderloins, and now it's on I think grilled cheese.
I'm doing a 23-week grilled cheese tour.
And that is mainly going to be on your blog. Is that correct?
It's on Meanwhile back in Peoria.
Okay, and that blog continues. I think the last time he was here, it was about ready to celebrate 10 years of that blog.
Yeah, now it's over 10.
You've crusted that.
Crazy, a decade.
Pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I mean, I am still surprised, kind of like with when I was doing the show, that people keep showing up and looking at it. But, I mean...
People want content, and if you give them something of quality, people are going to come.
Well, thanks. I mean,
For sure.
Yeah, no, it's been
kind
of humbling to me to go on this long. I mean, I started really blogging back in 2010. Mm-hmm. In my life now, because that was when I was doing the 365 Bars blog.
Yeah.
So since 2010, my life is online. It's like a reality show kind of. It's been weird.
Well, we knew that the end of Couch Pilots was coming, and we had a handful of people before our final season. We said, we got to get these people on. And honestly, it was about 4 or 5 people, and Marty was on the list. And I'm so thankful.
Thanks.
I'm so thankful that you were available and willing to do it.
No, my honor to be part of it.
We do genuinely appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Blake, is there anything that you want to add before we close today's program?
No. Marty, thank you very much. It's always awesome to have you on.
No, thanks for having me. Always fun to be with you guys. You guys are kind of kindred spirits. So
well, you can go ahead and say cool. We're pretty cool
kindred
guys.
Spirits. Cool guys. You're dirty whores.
We're dirty whores. God, if we titled our show each episode "Dirty Whore,"
the dirty whores.
No, I thank everybody for listening. You got 10 episodes left. You better fucking enjoy them.
Agreed. And again, we'll dig into more of that next episode. But in the meantime, this pilot may have been rough, but it's always a smooth flight here on Couch Pilots. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
On behalf of Couch Pilots and the entire crew, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on board again in the near future. Have a nice day.